Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and welcome back to F1 Manager 24, episode number 11. Canadian Grand Prix, so Montreal coming up in one day. Our third, technically second upgrade, but third edition of the rear wing for the season is done. Manufacturing is beginning. The chassis is about to be on the car, so maybe, just maybe, we're going to get into that first live race since the season opener here soon, but as we're progressing, it seems like the other teams are as well, and we haven't covered off that ground yet, but our latest performance was definitely better. We did have a 10th place as a team, as a constructor. One thing that I noticed previously when it came to parts, with our facilities the way they are, the suspension is something we can't improve. There is no way, without dumping a ton of hours into it and then getting very little return on that, there is no way to get something sizable on the return for a suspension upgrade. Therefore, I'm not even going to bother with it this season. So, thinking about that, as I'm beyond an ATR period and still multiple weeks away, nearly 3 weeks away from starting the next period, I'm now trying to go, well, what if we do research on suspension? We already have the plan in. 5% loss for next year is not much, but gosh, wouldn't it be nice if we could at least cover off that 5% and maybe then some? Those marginal gains, there's no losses here like we would have had. A new suspension would have been really costly. So seeing what happens, what's the cost going to be? It's $1 million, but it's not bad. And if we put everybody into it, it's 22 days. We have 18, I think, till the next window, so it only puts us off by a few days. It gives us something. I'm going to do that because at least it doesn't change the manufacturing side of what there is, and it starts building us one part incrementally towards the next season. The $1 million for that tiny return, though, not great, but if we do that even just twice this year, the suspension will at least pick up where it left off at for next season. Wow, interesting. We already have like a max development for Otokoven, but apparently it can go even higher. 400,000. I'm going to sponsor our own driver. No, what? Very confused. I feel like they got this a little bit backwards because obviously she's not racing in F2. She's racing in F1. She seems to have max, but it might just be a bug. It might do nothing. But I think the chances of the increase are worth the 400,000. The inevitable Max Verstappen win has occurred here. 9th race of the season. At least 8 wins for Verstappen now, if not all 9. Leclerc, Perez round out the podium. Albon cracks the top 10, so Williams getting a point today. Missing out was Fernando Alonso, who finished 4 laps down and way down the order from where he started. That is clearly via some sort of contact, though he did not DNF. Ricciardo, who did DNF, in real life you would think Aston Martin and RB are side by side pretty dang frequently, but here not necessarily. It might not have been a Ricciardo causing that one. It certainly could have been somebody up around the Russell, Stroll, Hamilton range, as those seem to be the only cars that they are competitive with. Haas just outside of the points, 1 lap down today. Otokoven gets 16th with a pretty weak engine as well today, so that's nice to see that she plays so high. Winter only a 20th place, still at the back, half a second faster than Ocon at her quickest, but just couldn't seem to put it together. Good to see, though. That is definitely more competitive from us. Otokoven had the new chassis. She was 7/10 faster than Winter. Winter does not have the chassis yet. We do not have the latest rear wing yet, but maybe if we're getting both of those onto the next race, I might take us out there. Did we beat a team today, though? 16th, and still we can't beat a team. That's still 11th. Another sponsor plan coming to an end with 3.6 million, and of course our cushion to lay us right off into the next one. 0 mandatory activities this time. And the rear wing is ready. I also have a side pod upgrade that I haven't even been able to get to, but we're going to be able to get that on both cars, the rear wing. Side pod not yet on the car. That's technically the 5th upgrade that we've had. As for the initial upgrades, top speed still last, but DRS effectiveness is up to 19th. Low speed cornering and medium speed cornering is 19th. High speed cornering is 16th. And not that far off from average. We've actually made some pretty solid gains there. Dirty air tolerance is 19th. Tire preservation is up to 15th. And engine cooling remains down at last at the bottom of the grid. But that's like almost... Do we go for the race? Do we go for the most generic track in Spain and see what we can do? That side pod upgrade is supposed to be onto the car pretty soon. Thinking I might want to give it one more race, see what happens with the side pod. Finally, someone wins the race other than Max Verstappen. He finishes a lap down in 7th place, just 6 points. Perez takes the win, with Sainz and Piastri joining him on the podium. Tsunoda, both RBs getting into the points even. Stroll getting 9th place. Odakovic got 13th. 2 laps down still. 2 laps down, but got 13th. And Vinter was 15th. The chassis seemingly adding some pace. And we beat both Kick Saubers. We beat both Haas drivers. And one from all these others. 3 DNFs absolutely helping us out along the way. Otherwise, we'd be looking at, I'd say 2 of them would be ahead of us for sure. So probably a 15th place finish. But we get a 9th place team result here in the 10th round. That's going to be a big saver for us. And if we can start doing something like that a little more consistently, our job will be very safe for next season. After 10 races, Red Bull has won all 10 of them. And that was, I think, Perez's first win. So Verstappen has 9 wins right now. They are dominating the Constructors' Championship. Ferrari a little bit ahead of McLaren, and then a huge gap to Aston Martin and Mercedes, closing that gap a little bit today, but 20 points behind them. RB wasn't the first time they scored this season, but it was the bulk of the points they have scored. They are 6th, Alpine is 7th, and Williams is 8th. Haas, Kick Sauber, and ourselves are the only ones that have yet to score points this season. We might. Haas has had 2 fastest laps into the new ATR, and the next upgrade is going to be another one to the underfloor. Gains are definitely less than what we got previously, but it's still going to be solid gains, so we will happily take that. We're going to spend the other half of our hours on a new front wing. Same sort of thing. We went all in on the low speed last time, so we've got to at least put in a bit of extra oomph into the low speed again to make sure that we are not actually losing because of that, that previous design focus that was 100%. But this gives us larger gains in the other areas, and as we're going to lose 5% in airflow, this is already getting covered off. Look, we're getting 6-7%. So even without research projects, the here and now is covering off the 5% to really help us out. I don't think I'm going to be doing much research, really, just the suspension. I think everything else, because the 5% is relatively minor, we're going to just kind of push on with here and now upgrades on everything and then take the small hit at the end of the season. But 0.014, 0.012, it's decent. It's not great return on this. Everything's going to be less than kind of what that first iteration was. We were so bad, so low, and now we're kind of just getting some competitive parts. So it's almost the end of the month. We're going to get that $1 million in the bank here fairly soon, but we're still at 15.4 million. So basically, we've spent that sponsor money that we obtained on continuing down the upgrade chain and make that progress and get closer towards midfield competitive. And we're still last, but we're not as far off. So for that, we're going to go ahead and take on the Spielberg race and check in where the team is, how competitive it is. That last race definitely worked out pretty well, but 3 DNFs helping, I think, inflated our result just a bit. 13th was the best result we've had so far this season, though.
Welcome along to the spectacular setting of Austria. Set in the Austrian mountains, the Red Bull Ring offers fantastic views and thrilling racing. Originally built in 1970, the circuit has been part of the F1 season in its current format since 2014. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Formula One.
Before jumping into a dry lap 1 that's going to quickly become a wet and then very heavy rain race by the 1/3 point of this one. So we're in for an interesting race. First off, Oedekoven starting 17th, Winter starting last after a crash in the sprint race here in Austria, Spielberg. That saw most of the components destroyed, but the engine ultimately being fine. The engine on the old side, though, I'm trying to get that halfway point before I get into the next set of things for Winter. Looks like we might at least hang on to that being still an option. Oedekoven, engine-wise, is already past that stage from that earlier crash this season. But one notable update that the game has had is they finally are fixing car setup stuff. So changes you make, long story short, you would make changes to setup, but then you'd go and simulate and the changes wouldn't come. Whatever the outcome of FP1 would be the setup for the entire weekend. There was no changing it from there. Even if you manually do it, you go in, you sim, it's going to stay the same all race weekend long. Now, you make changes, you make adjustments. Those adjustments go into the next session and give you a result. So I was able to, after the sprint race, before qualifying, make a change to the setup. And I went from 51% to 81%. And I went from like 56, 55% to 96 for Oedekoven, getting it just about right. That's a big help for us now, because the car setup, what it impacts is driver ratings. That's the mechanic they have. The car is what it is. Setup impacts how the driver does with it, which is pretty realistic actually. But it adds to or subtracts from driver ratings, penalizes them when it's low. Yeah, so it makes them less effective. It makes them crash more often. So being able to get a good setup, while not being that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things, a good driver or a bad driver is a good driver or a bad driver regardless, and swaying a couple points either way is marginal in the effect. It still has an effect. And if in particular you take a small penalty versus a small boost to the particular attributes, yes, pace is big obviously, but the particular attributes regarding mistakes, make fewer mistakes, crash less often, costs us less money. And of course this season, right, finances are a very, very big part of this first season for us. So really happy to see that has finally been resolved.
Well then, it's not long until we get started here, and we should be in for a tightly contested race. A chance to see just what Charles Leclerc can achieve here.
It's a second row start there in P4. The trick will be not to slip backwards because there are plenty looking to capitalize.
Here we go. It's time to go racing. The crowd are ready, the cars are ready. It's the Austrian Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go.
All right, so most of the grid is on intermediates to start the race and very slow off the line. What we need to watch out for here, more so, is that there are a couple drivers on softs. There's a lot of drivers with faults. We are going to absolutely cook these things very quickly because it's dry. So we're already dropping down to light. They are going to degrade rather quickly, which is why I didn't push to get off the line. Tires severely overheating. How many opted for the softs? Ooh, 13. Surprised how many actually did opt. Come on, rain. It was supposed to be by lap 2. Supposed to be by lap 2. They're saying 3 minutes, and we've got a Red Bull down to last place. Verstappen is in last place. Oedekoven 19th. Winter is 21st. The gap right now is not huge. The bigger thing that's happening currently is the wear. The wear rate is really, really bad. I think it might be best to kind of go neutral, except that we're going to lose a little more pace, but that'll help not overheat so severely and see them burn down. The rain should be falling. The clouds have definitely turned very gray now. And, you know, the softs are burning too. They are going to have to pit. So the big thing right now is, what is the gap? You know, some of the cars are going to pit and come out ahead of us. At this point, definitely not all. And there's the rain. There's the rain onto the intermediates. 81% is not worn too terribly yet, but they have definitely not cooled. They should start cooling almost right away here. Verstappen's gone by, so we're down to the last 2 positions on the grid, and now suddenly 32 seconds behind. And they're still overheating, so it's still not quite damp enough to start cooling them off, even though we are really trying to take it easy here. And no one's pit yet either. They're still putting distance into us. Softs would have been the way to go. It told me it was going to come on lap 2, not at the end of lap 3, which made a huge difference. There you go, into the pits. So they've pit earlier than expected, but we are going to come back out behind everybody and with worn tires and still overheating. We might come out ahead of a couple cars here. One car. Track stamp. Cooling occurring. But yeah, we are down to 20th and 21st. Show the only one behind us. That's not worked out. That has not worked out. That was not a very quick... I knew the overheating was going to be an issue, but it was a lap and a half longer than it was supposed to be. And that's hurt us severely. Ricciardo still leads. He gained that much ground. We've got an RB in first place. We're still overheating, by the way, but the wear rate has dropped significantly. There we go. Okay, standard. We'll make it. Tires will make it till the transfer point, and then we'll have to push from there. But this first sequence has definitely gone not how we hoped it would. So around us is Zhou, Magnussen, Ocon, and Sargent. The 2 Mercedes are actually the first team that we have a chance to beat, which obviously is not going to be easy, though both have minor faults. Bottas down to 14th gets us a little closer, but we are way off where we need to be. Odekoven did get around Magnussen, so we are showing at least a little bit of pace. Winter behind Magnussen now is overheating a little bit because of that. We've got some underfueling, which should be helping with pace. Odekoven has pulled away from Magnussen. Zhou with issues. Sainz and Tsunoda with issues. Mechanical faults. This is just like worn engines, I think, is what the exclamation one is, while mechanical is gearbox or battery. But a little more serious for Sainz and Tsunoda could help us. Okay, pit window has entered. The rain has really picked up, so we're going to be looking to pit here fairly soon. 6 seconds separate Odekoven and Winter. And it looks like we could be transitioning fairly soon, so I think first off, start to push. Oh, Hulkenberg developed a fault. I thought they were saying we have. Yeah, Hulkenberg the latest. Ricardo has dropped second, but still well ahead of everybody else. Piastri, the one who's looking like he's cruising towards victory. But timing of the next pit stop is going to be important. Not yet at the crossover to the full wets. 3 1/4. Much closer now. 3.4. I'm thinking I might want one of these cars to go into the pits. Like Winter. Not much to lose. $3.6. We're going to do it. We're going to do it now. We're pitting right here, right now. So Winter, first car down pit road, 3.75. By the time she comes back out on track, I think we're ready for that crossover. 2.843 on the stop. Not a good one. Huh. It's over 4. Nobody else has pit yet. Oh, it's about the rubber? The grip is already low. Let's watch the gap here. Yeah, it's coming down. Well, it's steady. Gap is steady. But it looks like it's inching its way the right direction. So we're going to go ahead and pit with Odekoven as well. Really not much to lose here by pulling the trigger early. Especially when, I mean, it looks like Winter is gaining. Winter is gaining. So, yeah, we've done the right thing. Piastri has us a lap down, but only just. And we are just behind Piastri. Odekoven down pit road. Second one to pit. We've already seen that you could actually be a little bit faster. 2.908. Both of them very slow stops. 2.5 tenths off. Other mechanical fault out there. A lot of cars having some issues. Odekoven's still ahead of Winter, but the gap definitely smaller than it was. We are behind Zhou, but only just. And nobody else opting to pit at this time. They're staying out on intermediates when we're definitely in wet weather scenario. So this could work out. Odekoven's already caught up to Zhou. Push, deploy. We go inside, we go outside. We're going to tuck back in, go inside again, and under braking, we go around. And are a second and a half up the road from Zhou already. So far, this is actually working out in our favor. Winter, just 2 seconds behind Zhou now. Yellow flag, Winter spins.
We've got a yellow flag here.
Nice.
Now,
I
this
love
was
how
the
you're
7th
progressing
corner.
off the edge of the track, waiting
And
for
round
the
they
safe.
go. And there'll be
Operate.
words had after
That's
this, I'm
weird though,
sure.
that everybody else is on the inters. We're on the wets. We're the ones with the increased grip.
Not much that the team can do about.
Wow, we lost a lot of ground from that. We were right behind Zhou. Had we overtaken Piastri, I don't know. Perez and Verstappen both into the pits. Sainz with a major issue. Odekoven, we've caught Magnussen. Coming around the final corner. Goes up the inside. Completes the overtake. Already higher than the position we were in. Winter is already recovering ground, gaining on... Just don't give me a blue flag. That is the worst thing that this game used to do a couple of years ago. You overtake a lead lap car and then it blue flags you and you go backwards again. All right. That's a success. And look how much faster we are. The first stint did not quite work out. stint number 2 is working out really well right now. Odekoven's already just 5 seconds behind Sargent. Fuel's also already nearly recovered with half a race to go, so the ability to push is going to be present. Vinter's already caught back up. Vinter has caught back up to Zhou, even after the spin. Coming around the final corner. Should be an easy overtake. Goes to the inside. Pushes. Under braking, we should have this. Oh, contact! Are we going to get penalized? Did we leave the space?
Something's gone on there. Looks like it's Zhou Guanyu.
We already saw it live, but you can take another look at this. We're going to drive away from him either way. But, you know, we kind of left the space there. Zhou was the one who... Zhou with a problem after that. Or was there already a problem? I don't know. We're already 3 seconds ahead. There's going to be an investigation. I'm hoping for a racing incident. No penalties given. Okay. Track's back down to Dampu. Our advantage is over for now. Looking back at the weather report, because I knew that there was going to be a period of time where it dropped down. It's going to be a pretty lengthy period of time. The end, you definitely want to be on the wets. Right now, do we want to be on the intermediates? Do I want fresh intermediates and attack with them? I think it depends on what's happening with these gaps, because we caught and overtook Magnussen quickly, easily. We've got to watch if this gap goes out. If the gap starts to go out, then we need to pit and then just attack with the intermediates. Try to cover some ground. Depends on how fast we're losing ground right now. Odekoven still putting in a faster lap than Sargent and Ocon ahead. Still faster than Magnussen. Vinter also still faster, but we are starting to wear quickly. I think maybe I need to attack for a couple laps and then... Yeah, there's a long ways to go until... Okay, we're going to attack. Actually, we're going to attack. Full attack. Let them overheat. Let them run. We're going to run a couple laps on these wets very aggressively and hope that we can put in a decent time, because that last lap we were a second slower than those ahead of us. Vinter, same speed. Zhou is definitely off pace and about to get lapped by Leclerc. Problem now being that we are in that lap down kind of territory. Heavier rain coming in a couple minutes. But probably not enough to get us to want to switch back to another set of wets and be in the same situation we're in, where they're just going to overheat. Yeah, there you go. Pushing has allowed us to speed back up and put in a very similar time to others, but Vinter, not so much. This needs to be the lap. We're going to go back to the intermediates and attack, and then back to wets at the end. We've made gains. Now we're going to have to try to offset that. Because we are still... Ooh, a lot of them are at 52%. Going to have to pit soon. Actually, this could work out. This could work out. If others pit soon and put on another set of intermediates and then have to go to the wets at the end, we're not actually losing anything for this extra stop. 2.583. Oops, the wheels are still there. Somebody forgot their wheels. Vinter. Magnussen back ahead of Odekoven. Vinter back down to last. Both of them much, much better stops. Very different than before. And here we can absolutely attack, because that's going to be the whole point of what we're doing. But blue flags coming. Odekoven, drive away from these guys, please. Do not get blue flagged. Do not get blue flagged. We are back ahead of Magnussen. We are back ahead of Magnussen? Yes, we are. And Winter is closing very quickly as Joe. In this case, things are definitely working out for us just a bit anyway. And he's about to get blue flagged, where hopefully we have the pace. That's Norris. We have the pace to stay ahead of the third place driver. Hopefully. Ooh, Magnussen's already well behind. That's Ricardo and Norris now just behind us there. Our pace is matching theirs. We're starting to overheat in the way you don't want to overheat. 10 seconds ahead of Magnussen already, who's about to get blue flagged again. 40. Very smart move. Obviously, we had caught Sargent. We were only 1 second behind him, so we've obviously given up some territory. But we're closing him down pretty quickly, just 11 seconds behind. I think I really made a smart move to make the switch. Winter is ahead of Joe already. I missed that, the catch of the overtake, but we've done it. Let's cool things back down. The wear on the engine's a little high at the moment. The wear on the tires is definitely high, but we are going to be pitting in, I don't know, 10 laps more. So, Joe, 14 seconds behind Winter already. Is anybody pitting? No. Nobody's pit recently, just the Perez Verstappen, but a lot of 30 to 40 percentile right now out there. So they're either going to be off the pace or have problems like Tsunoda spinning. Sainz is pitting. There you go. Sainz pits. Ricardo pits. Oh, but here comes the heavy rain. Here comes the heavy rain. Yes, it is. It's on its way. So are these guys they're switching to the wets now. They are. They are switching to the wets right now. Gotta watch those lap times. You're at 1:16. Odekoven now up to 18th with Sargent in the pits. Winter up to 20th with Magnussen having pit. We ran a 1:16. Sargent ran a 1:18. 2 seconds faster. Ahead of Sainz even. That's positional. That's Sainz behind us in 16th while we run 15th. Joe retired. Joe has retired. Winter. Heading down pit road. This will be the last stop of the day for us. We will stay in wet conditions to the end. 2.56. Odekoven. Let's get into the pits. Winter comes back out ahead of Magnussen. Joe has retired. So Winter ahead of 2 cars. And Odekoven down pit road. Relinquishes 15th from 2 Sainz. Now 17th to Tsunoda, and Bottas goes past as well. Terrible stop, 2.925. No mistakes, just terribly slow. And Sargent also has gone by. Odekoven comes out just ahead of... Where's Leclerc? Fourth place Leclerc. So Odekoven is now stuck behind Leclerc. And blue flagged and got slow there. Gasly and Ocon still have yet to pit and are going backwards. That's good. It's a potential opportunity for us because we are not yet beating a team. We need to catch and beat Bottas, who's just been overtaken by Sargent as they battle it out. We are 14 seconds behind and chasing. Oh, and then Victor goes a bit wide. I don't want to see it. Don't want to see it. 28 seconds behind for Winter, just ahead of Magnussen, so still ahead at least. But Signs with the fault. Struggling. There goes Gasly and Ocon into the pits. And they're double stacked, so it's going to slow down Ocon even more. Odekoven coming around the final corner. They are both coming off pit road. We're going to come out just a little behind them. They're in 17th and 18th, so now even harder to beat Kick Sauber. Now we've got to try to beat 2 Alpines. We also no longer are carrying an advantage. Everybody else is on the wets just like we are. Put them on at a similar time just like we did. The difference might be that we are able to push, and they're not pushing. They're not thinking that these tires are going to easily last, and so therefore you can push. They might not be pushing on their fuel. They might not be using their battery. That's about the only chance we have. We were 2.5 seconds down. It's now 1.8. Ocon is also gaining on Gasly. He's caught back up to him. He seems to be the quicker of the pair, but he got caught behind with the double stack. And the 3 of us are gaining on Sargent and on Bottas. But any of those overtakes are going to be challenging. Magnussen decides to retire and is going to pull off to the side to the service road. So Magnussen out of the race. So we've guaranteed 20th or better for both drivers, which means we are guaranteed to get our 660,000 for this race, as that's the target I set for both of them was 20th. Winter, I think, is getting blue flagged right now. Yes, that is one Mercedes. That's Hamilton. Hamilton has gone around. Stroll with a lockup goes backwards a little bit, drops out of the points. Alonso inherits 10th. Hulkenberg 11th. Stroll down to 12th, but too far up the road and rejoins quickly and easily enough to not be a factor. But now we're coming up. Bottas, Sargent, Gasly, closer to everyone, but still not in distance to change our outcome just yet. At minimum, we've got to beat both Alpines if we're going to get something other than 11th today. Laps to go. We've got a full battery. I'd like to use it, but you've got to get in there. You've got to get your nose in there from 1 second back without DRS. Tech. Already overheating. We might as well. Boy. Oh, mistake from Odekoven.
Right, so this
into
was the
gravel.
fourth corner. And nearly, just running wide.
Push too hard. Push too hard, that's on me. Lock up. Big losses. Didn't lose much time there, though. Looked like it was looked a lot worse than it turned out to be. We're just 4.5 seconds down, so we lost 3.5 seconds. But did lose some tire wear with the lockup. Ocon overtakes Gasly, I think, to try to defend against our push. Just under 2 laps to go for Odekoven. Winter will begin the final lap soon. Battery's empty. That's that. That's the push. 3.5 seconds isn't going to cut it. So just go balanced. It's enough wear on the engine already. We tried, came up short. We are going to get the 660 though. Again, I think the 13 cars that picked the softs ended up with a pretty significant advantage in this race. The 7 cars that picked the intermediates did not. The weather report let me down, which of course the accuracy of our weather report is iffy. So it makes sense.
Piastri has done it. He's got the win.
Taking the inters was a clear mistake. 30 seconds were gained or lost, but also the tire wear. So not only did we lose I mean, they pit stopped and went right on back, but we were right there. Last place, but we were also at 74% when they were at 100. Not my best result. Piastri takes a win. Norris, Leclerc, Perez, Verstappen. Ricciardo still keeps a good solid points paying position with a 6th place finish on this one. Ultimately, the pace of the other cars overcoming him, but he had a very healthy advantage. He and Piastri, for that matter. Piastri cruised to a 12-second victory. Hamilton was way behind Ricciardo, so Ricciardo was not in much danger of going any further back, but the two Mercedes coming in 7th and 8th. Alonso overtook Albon before the end to get 9th. Russell, you could see here kind of the best times. Norris, Leclerc, wrong setup. Russell, Alonso had the wrong setup. Sainz, and us. So we really, really missed out. These guys took the softs. They took the softs at the beginning. We pushed like crazy and lost, 4 seconds a lap. Over 3 laps. That's 12 seconds. We've lost a lot more than that, but I suppose that was probably not even in the first... That wouldn't have been in the first 2 laps. That was on inters as soon as inters became appropriate, and that was the fastest we could go. I'm pretty sure we would have been slower than that, but those guys, that was their times on softs. So this whole group ahead of us, all 5 of them, picked the softs and carried that pretty healthy advantage. Otherwise, I think we could have beaten some more cars today. Nearly at the halfway point of the season, though. We are still going to take things on a occasional race basis this first season. It's definitely not going to be all the time, but I think I'll have one live race per episode in the near future, as the car's definitely closer to being competitive with others, and in particular Kick Sauber, right? We don't need to beat all the teams, we just need to consistently beat one, and if we can do that, then we are safe. That's going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.